Hi guys, today I'm going to talk a little bit about the narcissist and sort of some issues that are in these relationships. So one thing that you'll notice is that narcissists are like the ultimate hypocrites. So they have very specific rules for you. They have a template for how you are supposed to behave to sort of toe the line. And those rules could be typically like, you must be totally faithful to them. You must be, reliable, consistent, honest, dependable. Like they have very, very high standards for people in their lives. You could argue that they are unrealistically high and actually sort of perfectionistic. But unfortunately, the way the narcissist is they're such horrible hypocrites that they do not hold themselves up to that same standard. So the rules apply to you, but they don't apply to them. So they expect you to be, faithful and honest and have integrity, and they don't expect the same out of themselves. And they're very judgmental internally, whether they say this verbally or not. They're very judgmental internally about others not meeting up to this unrealistic perfectionistic standard, but they themselves are unable to meet up to that perfectionistic standard, so the rules do not apply to them. And another thing that you might notice is these people are masters at getting other people to do the work. So you may have shared a house with them for many years, and you may have done all the work, and the narcissist will take credit for your work. You may also see this at work, in the work environment. The narcissist is a master at getting other people to do their work for them and then taking credit for them, for that work. So they are master manipulators in that way, and in a weird way, they're strangely lazy because they're constantly getting other people to do their work, and that could be the work in the relationship, that could be the work in the emotional work, that could be the work in the household, that could be the work at their jobs. They're masters at evading responsibility and getting other people to do the work for them. But with the hypocrisy, you may see that the narcissist is accusing you. They may use their projection, where they're projecting all of their negative stuff internally onto you and accusing you of, being unfaithful, or accusing you of being dishonest, or accusing you of having poor relationships, or accusing you of complicating relationships. I heard that one. And this is this could come from a person who has all sorts of complicated relationships, if any at all, or who has really negative relationships. Somebody who doesn't have very many friends, who doesn't have close connections with their family, who, has a pattern of, all these people that are resentful, usually past girlfriends or boyfriends, because they've left a lot of wreckage. So this is somebody who is awful with relationships, doesn't work to maintain good relationships with others, barely even has them, and then they're accusing you of, complicating relationships when you may have really positive relationships with hundreds, if not dozens of people in your life that are long-term, authentic, honest, emotionally intimate relationships. And the narcissist has no emotionally intimate relationships, no relationships where they're honest with people, whether it be their family or their friends. They're just dishonest. They don't tell the truth. They don't share their inner life. They are not honest, authentic people, so they don't have honest, authentic relationships, right? Yet they will accuse you of complicating relationships. So you may hear things like that, or I had a lot of clients where the narcissist accused them of being unfaithful, and here the narcissist was leading a double life and totally being unfaithful, and or the narcissist may accuse you of being a nymphomaniac, and here they are with a secret, hidden sex addiction or porn addiction. Like that's totally what they're guilty of. So that's the projection. They're constantly deflecting and projecting. They're projecting all of their garbage onto other people. They're deflecting responsibility. They evade personal responsibility. These are not people that take personal responsibility they don't own their feelings. They don't own their responsibility for when they hurt people. They just evade and avoid and put it onto everyone else. Whether they're the overt narcissist and they tell everyone that everyone else is the problem, or they're more the covert, where they may not say that verbally, but it's completely implied. And remember, these people are the ultimate victims. They're the victims. They're the ones that they don't know why this happens to them. And if you talk to all their exes, it's the same thing. Like, they don't know why. The narcissist has no idea why, people keep abandoning them. But it's like, that's because you cheated and you lied and you gaslighted and you manipulated and you tortured your, past partners or your current partner. Like, that's because you're a master manipulator. So it's like, I don't know why people abandon me. Well, start looking at your own self and you might know. They just have this inability to take any sort of personal responsibility. Narcissists also have this really weird thing where they don't have object constancy, and that is where people are either perfect, like in the idealization phase, or nothing. They can't see, they have this inability to hold positive feelings in them when they're mad at somebody. So if you get in a fight with a narcissist, instead of them being able to look back and be like, oh yeah, over the last 10 years, this person has treated me with a great deal of love and respect and caring, and they're typically pretty kind. And this one argument that we're having, this person is addressing like the issues in our sex life. And so in my mind, in the narcissist's mind, you're just pure nothing. You're pure evil, instead of like, people have good and bad. We're complicated. We have sadness and anger and love and consideration and all these nuances of feeling. Narcissists are only able to see you as good or bad. And during the idealization phase, you are absolutely on the pedestal. That's where the new supply is. They're on the pedestal. They're saints, they're perfect, they're amazing, they're good, nothing they can do is wrong. And then the devaluation starts, and then eventually the discard. So eventually the narcissist sees that person as being all bad, instead of like, people are complicated, right? So if you look back on all the past relationships or talk to any of the narcissist past relationship partners, you will find this very same pattern has been repeated over and over and over again in their lives, right? And it's going to continue in their future lives until or less they get some serious therapy, get some serious help, start taking personal responsibility, start owning their feelings, stop projecting them onto others, stop blaming the world and everyone else for their problems, and start taking radical responsibility for their life, which narcissists are notoriously bad at doing. In fact, psychologists believe that they can never get help and they can never change. A lot of them believe that. I don't. I think that there's also a spiritual element here. I have seen narcissists get help through 12-step recovery and finding a connection to a higher power and finding a different way of living, a design for living that works for them, and it gives them a psychic change where they fundamentally change sort of the way they look at the world. Because I think narcissism, a lot like addiction, it is a disease of perception. Their perception of the world is completely skewed, and it's through this lens of self-centered fear and insecurity. So that's just a few things to be aware of. If you're with a narcissist, or you were in a relationship with one and you were like, oh my gosh, these are the biggest hypocrites that I have ever met. You can just be astounded by their level of hypocrisy and almost like an inability to recognize what terrible hypocrites they are. So, these are not people that can look at a person holistically and realize, yeah, that person is got some good in them, they got some bad in them, that we're all a little bit broken, they're not perfect, they're a work in progress, but wow, look at how hard they are doing to work on that issue that they have, or look how hard they are working over here. They're unable to see people as humans that are, these holistic, complicated creatures, which we all are. Narcissists just see you as black or white, good or bad, right or wrong. They're very black and white in their thinking. They're not really able to tap into shades of gray. And if you were with a narcissist that accused you of black and white thinking, that happened for me, when everyone else who knows me in life knows that I'm actually really able to see a lot of shades of gray, and I have a lot of empathy, and I'm able to see people, I work with a lot of people that are struggling with addiction and to overcome trauma. So I'm able to see that people can be, even like really bad drug addicts, and then also have a lot of good in them, and they're also trying to get better, and their progress, not perfection, and their work in progress. Like, I don't see things in black and white, but the narcissist I was with accused me of that, and that was and I thought, even at the time, I thought, that's so weird, because I have a lot of other flaws that are like glaringly obvious, but like, that's not one of them. Like, actually, that's one of my strengths. And if you talk to the hundreds of people that know me really well, better than the narcissist, because they were emotionally intimate relationships, they'll say the same thing. Like, I'm able to see that people are complicated and we're not perfect. We're all a little bit broken. And I really respect people that are trying to work on their brokenness and face their demons. But that narcissist, that's how they saw the world. So that was projection. It was like, you have black and white thinking. Well, a lot of times with narcissists, whatever they are accusing you of, that is what they are guilty of, because they are masters of projection. They absolutely have this inability to take ownership for their feelings and their experiences, so they have to project it out onto other people. And with the covert narcissist, they may do this almost non-verbally. It may be very, very subtle, and it may take you years to pick up on this, but if you're the new source of supply or the next source of supply, they are going to do all of that same stuff that they did with the old sources of supply and with you. So don't look at their new relationship and be like, oh wow, they found true love. Like, they don't do true love. They don't do bonding. They don't do emotional reciprocity, and they certainly don't do emotional intimacy. And that inability to do that has nothing to do with you. If you look back on the relationship with the narcissist in the very beginning, they were always emotionally unavailable. They were never able to do emotional intimacy, and nor were they with their past girlfriend or boyfriend or with the one before that. And if you talk to those people, you will find the very same story. So, really listen to people. If people are telling you that the person that you're with, like if you're talking to their, past girlfriends or boyfriends, and they're telling you like some of the same stuff, you should really listen to that. A lot of times in the love bombing, when you're being put on this pedestal, it's very flattering. It's hard to sort of see or hear that, because you're having all this, flattery and validation, and you're up on the pedestal, and you feel like you can do no wrong, and you're totally accepted, and blah, blah, blah. But I would be really careful when you're in a new relationship. Notice what the past people that they were with have to say about them. That's very, very important. Also, do they have great friends? What do those friends say about them? What does the family say about them? Like, do these people have really good friendships, long-term, solid, intimate friendships with other people? Do they have, do they have integrity? Do they have emotional intimacy with other people? Because if they don't, that is a red flag. So what you hear a lot about narcissists is that people that were in relationship with them felt like, they were the special one. They were up on a pedestal, but then they looked at the way the narcissist like treated other people. Like, how does this person treat the waiter? How do they treat the homeless guy? How do they treat somebody else who's suffering? How do they treat their friends and family? Like, look at how that person treats other people. And if you feel like you're the outlier and they're treating you like you're particularly special, but everybody else that they come in contact with, they're either dismissive, disdainful, or outright rude, that is a huge red flag, because that is how they treat people. And eventually you're gonna fall off the pedestal, and you are gonna be treated in a similar fashion. Just like all their exes, just like all their other sources of supply at one point or the other, when they were dethroned from the pedestal. So, you're not the exception. I don't care how wonderful you are not going to change this person. Best thing you can do is go no contact, look for the red flags, and get out of this potentially emotionally, psychologically, or even verbally or physically abusive relationship. I hope you have a wonderful day, and you're thriving, and you're taking good care of yourself, and you're surrounding yourself with loving, kind, wonderful people. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.